I found the lipstick-stained wine glass tucked between the passenger seat and centre console of Davis's car. Crimson red. Definitely not my shade. I'm more of a nude pink kind of girl, which he knows because he's bought me enough makeup over our 2 years together to stock a small Sephora. My name is Saj, and 3 weeks ago I thought I was living a fairy tale. Now I'm standing in our driveway at 7 a.m. holding physical proof that my fiancé is either kissing someone else or has taken up cross-dressing. Given his mother Nora's constant hints about his one true love, Rebecca, I'm betting on the former. "You're being paranoid," Davis said last night when I mentioned how distant he'd been lately. He kissed my forehead in that patronising way men do when they think you're being hysterical. "Work's just crazy right now. The Miller account is killing me." I placed the wine glass in a plastic bag and texted my best friend Emma. "Found something. Come over." She replied instantly, "Be there in 20, bringing coffee and my 'I told you so' faith." When Emma arrived, she examined the glass like a CSI tech. Well, looks like Mother Dearest's precious Rebecca is making her predicted comeback. "We don't know it's Rebecca," I said, but my stomach churned because deep down I did know. "Please," Emma scoffed. "Nora's been dropping hints bigger than her ego. Remember what she said at dinner last week?" I did. We'd been discussing wedding venues when Nora smiled that razor-sharp smile of hers and said, "Sometimes the perfect match isn't the first choice, but the one that was meant to return." Davis had nearly choked on his wine. My phone buzzed, speaking of the devil. "Darling, I've been thinking about the engagement party," Nora's text read. "Rebecca knows this amazing party planner. She's offered to help coordinate." Emma read over my shoulder and snorted. The audacity of this woman. You literally plan events for a living. "It's fine," I said, typing back a polite thank you but no thank you. "I'm handling it." "It's not fine," Emma insisted. "None of this is fine. First the mysterious late nights, then the weird texts. Now this glass. Trust your gut, Saj." I sighed, remembering the first time I caught Davis cheating, barely 6 months into our relationship. He'd sworn it was a one-time mistake, cried real tears, promised it would never happen again. I'd believed him because I wanted to, because he seemed so genuine, because love makes you stupid sometimes. My phone buzzed again. "Davis." "Dinner tonight. Mum wants to discuss engagement party details." "Tell him you're busy," Emma said. "No," I replied, something cold and clear crystallizing in my chest. "I think I'll go. In fact, I think I'll be the most supportive, understanding fiancé ever." Emma's eyes narrowed. "What are you planning?" "Nothing yet," I said, but I was already thinking about the venue's AV system, about the security cameras in the hotel lobby where Davis had been spending his late nights at the office, about how karma sometimes needs a little push. But you know what they say about keeping your friends close. "And your enemies closer," Emma finished, a slow smile spreading across her face. "I'm in. Whatever you're thinking, I'm in." That evening, I sat across from Davis and Nora at some overpriced restaurant, watching them exchange glances when they thought I wasn't looking. Nora was in rare form, dropping hints like bombs. "Remember that beautiful New Year's party when Rebecca wore that red dress?" She sighed nostalgically. "Some things just can't be replaced." Davis shifted uncomfortably. "Mum, please." I smiled, took a sip of wine, and thought about the lipstick-stained glass in my possession. "You're right, Nora. Some things can't be replaced. They can only be exposed." She looked at me sharply, but I kept my face innocent, interested, engaged, the perfect future daughter-in-law. Davis relaxed visibly, probably thinking he'd dodged a bullet. Poor Davis. He never was very good at reading between the lines. Later that night, as I lay in bed beside him, listening to his steady breathing, I made a decision. I wouldn't scream or cry or throw things when the truth came out. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. No, I would do something much worse. I would wait. And when the moment was right, when they felt most secure in their little web of lies, I would give them exactly what they deserved, a show they'd never forget. My phone lit up with a text from Emma. "You okay?" I typed back. "I will be. Start documenting everything. We're going to need proof." Then I turned off my phone, closed my eyes, and dreamed of Karma wearing crimson-red lipstick. "He's been in there for 45 minutes, Emma whispered from the driver's seat of her Honda parked across from the Westbrook Hotel. We'd followed Davis after he'd texted me about another late client meeting. I adjusted my phone's camera zoom, focusing on the hotel's entrance. The client must be very demanding. "Sage," Emma's voice was gentle, "are you sure you want to see this?" Before I could answer, they appeared. Davis and Rebecca emerged from the revolving doors, his hand on the small of her back, just like he used to do with me. Rebecca was fixing her lipstick, crimson red. Click, click, click. "Got it," I said, my voice steady despite the earthquake in my chest. "Let's go." Emma started the car but hesitated. "We could just post these right now. End it all tonight." I shook my head. "That's not enough. I want them all to feel it. Davis, Rebecca, and especially Nora." Back at my apartment, I scrolled through the photos while Emma poured wine. They weren't just incriminating. They told a story. The way they looked at each other, touched each other. This wasn't new. This had been going on for months. My phone buzzed with a text from Nora. "Darling, Rebecca and I are having lunch tomorrow to discuss the engagement party. Join us." "The audacity!" Emma muttered, reading over my shoulder. "She's literally orchestrating this whole thing." I showed Emma my screen, open to Nora's text thread history. "Look at these messages from last month." The texts were damning. Nora to Rebecca. "He's not himself with her. You're the only one who truly understands him." Rebecca, "I know, this engagement is just his way of running from what we had." Nora, "Patience, dear. She's just a placeholder fiancé. There's still time to fix this." Emma's face flushed with anger. "That's manipulative, Wait," I interrupted, an idea forming. "I'm going to that lunch tomorrow." "What? Why?" "Because," I smiled, "I need them to think they're winning, and I need to plant a seed." The next day, I walked into the restaurant looking perfectly put together in my cream silk blouse and pearls, Nora's idea of proper attire. They were already seated, heads close together, whispering like conspirators. "Saiji!" Nora's smile was pure theatre. "We were just discussing the guest list." "How lovely," I said, sliding into my seat. "Actually, I had an idea about that. I was thinking of inviting Wilson." Rebecca's fork clattered against her plate. Davis had always been jealous of Wilson, my former flame who still worked with me. "Wilson?" Nora's smile tightened. "Your colleague?" "Yes," I said innocently. "He's been so supportive of Davis and me, and he's quite good with cameras. He could document the whole evening." Rebecca and Nora exchanged a look that spoke volumes. "I'm not sure that's appropriate," Nora began. "Oh, but Davis already agreed," I lied smoothly. "He said it was a wonderful idea." The rest of lunch was deliciously tense. When I left, I called Emma immediately. "They took the bait," I said. "Nora will tell Davis about Wilson, Davis will get jealous, and when he confronts me tonight—" "You'll record everything," Emma finished. "Brilliant." That evening, right on cue, Davis stormed into our apartment. "Wilson? Really?" I pressed record on my phone, hidden in my pocket. "What about Wilson?" "Mum said you're inviting him to the engagement party. Planning to have him take pictures?" His voice dripped with sarcasm. "Davis," I said softly, "what's really bothering you?" He broke, just like I knew he would. I can't keep doing this." Doing what? I've made a terrible mistake, he choked out. With Rebecca, it started again 3 months ago. Mum kept pushing us together, saying we were meant to be, and I was weak. I let the silence stretch, let him fill it with his confession. Please, he begged, please forgive me. I'll end it with her. I'll tell Mum to back off. Just don't leave. I stopped the recording and fought back a smile. Of course I forgive you, I lied, hugging him while my phone burned with evidence in my pocket. We all make mistakes. Later, I sent the audio file to Emma with a simple message. Phase 1 complete. She replied, Holy shit, what's Phase 2? I looked at the engagement party invitation on my desk, then at the venue's floor plan with its state-of-the-art projection system. Phase 2, I typed back, is going to be spectacular, because sometimes karma needs an audience, and I was going to give her one hell of a stage. A joint engagement party, I repeated, staring at Davis across our kitchen island. With Rebecca hosting? Mum thinks it would show maturity, Davis explained, not meeting my eyes. You know, prove there's no bad blood between past and present. I stirred my coffee slowly, watching the cream create perfect spirals. And what do you think? He hesitated. I think it would make things easier, for everyone. Of course he did. Davis Holland had never met a confrontation he couldn't avoid. My phone buzzed. A text from Wilson. Free for coffee, need to discuss the Anderson event. Who's that? Davis asked, trying to sound casual. Work stuff, I said, typing back a quick yes. Speaking of which, I should get going. An hour later, I sat across from Wilson at our usual coffee spot, watching him gesture animatedly about event logistics. He looked good, he always did, but something was different now. The attraction that used to flutter in my stomach had been replaced by clarity. Sage? Wilson waved his hand in front of my face. You okay? You seem distracted. Davis is cheating on me, I said simply. Wilson's face darkened. That son of a... with his ex, and his mother is helping them. Jesus! He ran a hand through his hair. Leave him, today, right now. I shook my head. Not yet. Why not? Because, I leaned forward, lowering my voice, I need your help with something first. After explaining my plan, Wilson sat back, impressed. That's actually brilliant, and slightly terrifying, but mostly brilliant. Will you help? Of course. He reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Whatever you need. Later that evening, Emma paced our living room, processing everything. So Wilson's in. That's good. But are you sure about this joint party thing? It feels like walking into the lion's den. That's exactly what it is, I said, pulling up the venue's layout on my laptop. And the lions think they're about to feast. My phone chimed. A group text from Nora. Ladies' lunch tomorrow to discuss party details. Rebecca has wonderful ideas. Emma read it and gagged. How are you staying so calm? Because I'm not their victim anymore, I replied. I'm the director, and they're all playing their parts perfectly. The next day's lunch was a masterclass in passive aggression. Rebecca dominated the conversation, while Nora nodded approvingly, both of them talking around me like I was invisible. The string quartet that played at my debutante ball would be perfect, Rebecca gushed. They know all our favourite songs, don't they, Nora? Boo, of course, dear, and we must use those gorgeous champagne flutes from the country club. I sat quietly, taking notes, playing the perfect pushover. Until... Oh, and Sage, Rebecca smiled sweetly. I hope you don't mind, but I took the liberty of changing the seating arrangement. I thought it made more sense for me to be at the main table, given my history with the family. Emma would have flipped the table, but I just smiled back. Whatever you think is best. Later that night, Davis found me in our home office, supposedly working late. You've been so understanding about everything, he said, wrapping his arms around me from behind. About the party, about Rebecca helping. I turned to face him, keeping my voice soft. I just want you to be happy. His face crumpled with guilt. I don't deserve you. No, I thought, but said, everyone deserves a second chance. After he left, I opened my laptop and clicked play on the security footage Wilson had helped me acquire. There they were, Davis and Rebecca entering the hotel, timestamp clear as day. Another clip, them in the hotel bar, his hand on her thigh. Another, Nora meeting them for lunch, all conspiratorial smiles. My phone buzzed. Emma. Still sure about this? We could just send him the videos and be done. I want to leave, I texted back. I just need one perfect scene first. The party's in 2 weeks, she replied. What if they suspect something? I thought about Rebecca's smug smile at lunch, about Nora's controlling grip on every detail, about Davis's guilty kisses. They won't, I typed. They're too convinced of their own brilliance. Too sure I'm just the placeholder fiancé who'll quietly step aside when the time comes. Emma's response was immediate. Their mistake. I closed my laptop and walked to the window, watching the city lights flicker like stars. 2 weeks. 2 weeks of playing the perfect, understanding fiancé. 2 weeks of watching them dig their own graves. Then, at last, the curtain would rise on my final act, and what a show it would be. The screen needs to be at least 20 feet wide, I told the venue manager, pointing at the ballroom's main wall, and the sound system has to be perfect. For a slideshow? He looked sceptical. It's an engagement party, I smiled. Everything needs to be perfect. Wilson, standing beside me, suppressed a smirk. He knew exactly what kind of slideshow I had planned. Speaking of perfect, he muttered as we left the venue, incoming at 2 o'clock. Nora and Rebecca were striding toward us, designer handbags swinging in sync. Of course they'd show up during my venue walkthrough. Nothing could be left to the actual event planner. Sadie, darling, Nora's voice dripped honey. And, Wilson, is it? How unexpected? Just helping with the technical setup, Wilson said smoothly. Sadie mentioned you wanted everything to be absolutely flawless. Rebecca's eyes narrowed. That's so thoughtful, though I'm sure we could have handled it. Oh, I insist, I said. Wilson's the best at what he does. He never misses a detail. The implications hung in the air like smoke. Nora's smile tightened. Well, she said, since we're all here, we should discuss the schedule. Rebecca had some wonderful suggestions about the speeches. Of course she does, I murmured, checking my phone. A text from Emma. Package received. Everything we need. Sorry, I looked up. You were saying? Later that evening, during yet another planning dinner at Nora's house, I watched Rebecca position herself next to Davis at every opportunity. Their fingers brushed while passing the salt. Their eyes met over wine glasses. They thought they were being subtle. Remember to get shots of the head table during speeches, I texted Wilson under the table. Already planned, he replied. Camera 2 will be focused there exclusively. Seiji? Nora's voice cut through my thoughts. We were discussing the music selection. Rebecca thinks... Actually, I interrupted softly, I was hoping to contribute something special. A surprise for Davis. Davis looked up, guilt flashing across his face. You don't have to, but I want to, I insisted. After all, this party is about celebrating our relationship. Rebecca choked slightly on her wine. The next day, Emma helped me sort through the evidence we'd gathered. Hotel footage, text messages, photos, all dated, all damning. This one's particularly nice, Emma said, holding up a screenshot of Nora's text to Rebecca. Nothing says, loving future mother-in-law, quite like planning your son's affair. Add it to the sequence, I said, right after Davis's confession video. You know, Emma hesitated, there's still time to just walk away, start fresh somewhere else. I thought about my father walking away when I was young, about how that clean break had left jagged edges that never quite healed. No, I said firmly, they don't get to write this ending. The week before the party, things intensified. Rebecca dropped by our apartment unexpectedly, claiming she needed to discuss party details. I watched her drift through our space, touching things that weren't hers, smiling like she already owned it all. "Oh, look at this!" She picked up a photo of Davis and me. "You both look so comfortable together." "We are," I said, noting how she lingered over Davis's face. "Very comfortable." That night, I overheard her on the phone with Nora in the garden. "Everything's going according to plan. He's finally coming home." I recorded it, of course, added it to the growing presentation that would be their undoing. The day before the party, Davis tried to kiss me goodbye as he left for work. I turned my cheek. "Everything okay?" he asked, frowning. "Perfect," I said. "Just nervous about tomorrow. I want everything to be exactly right." He relaxed, bought the lie. "It will be. Mum and Rebecca have thought of everything." "Yes," I agreed, thinking of the USB drive in my purse, of Wilson's carefully positioned cameras, of Emma's meticulously organised evidence. They certainly think they have. After he left, I called my mother. "Are you sure about this?" she asked quietly. "Revenge can be a double-edged sword." "I'm not looking for revenge," I told her. "I'm looking for justice. There's a difference." She was silent for a moment. "Just remember, sweetheart, sometimes the cleanest breaks hurt the most." I looked at my engagement ring, thinking about how it would look floating in Davis's champagne glass. "Don't worry, Mum," I said. "This break will be spectacular." The morning of the engagement party, I stood alone in the empty ballroom, watching the AV team test the projection system. The screen flickered to life, momentarily displaying Rebecca's crimson-lipped smile from the hotel security footage before going dark again. "All set," Wilson called from the control booth. "Want to do one final run-through?" Before I could answer, Emma burst through the doors. "We have a problem." My stomach dropped. "What kind of problem?" "Your father's here." The world tilted slightly. I hadn't seen my father since I was 12, when he decided his new family was more important than his old one. "That's impossible," I said. "I didn't invite him." "Nora did," Emma spat. I overheard her telling Rebecca it would add a humble family touch to balance out their society connections. Of course she did. One final power play designed to throw me off balance. "Where is he?" My voice sounded distant to my own ears. "Hotel lobby, talking to Davis." I found them by the fountain, my father looking exactly like the Facebook photos I'd secretly studied over the years, just greyer, softer around the edges. Davis was showing him something on his phone, both laughing like old friends. "Say," Davis called out, waving me over, "look who's here!" I approached slowly, feeling 17 years of absence crystallize into something hard and sharp in my chest. "Hello, Sige," my father said, arms opening for a hug I didn't step into. "You look beautiful." "Thank you," I replied coldly. "I wasn't expecting you." "Nora invited me, said it wouldn't be right without your father here." He smiled uncertainly. "I hope that's okay." Before I could respond, Nora appeared, perfectly timed as always. "Isn't this wonderful? Family coming together?" I looked at her composed face, at Davis's nervous smile, at my father's hopeful eyes, and suddenly everything clicked into perfect clarity. They all thought they could control my story. Nora with her manipulations, Davis with his lies, my father with his convenient return. "Excuse me," I said. "I need to check on something." I found Emma in the venue's powder room, already pulling out her emergency vodka flask. "Want some?" "No," I said, surprising myself. "I want to be completely clear-headed for this." "What are you going to do about your dad?" "Add him to the show," I said, pulling out my phone. "Wilson, we need to make one small addition to the presentation." An hour before the party, my mother arrived, taking one look at my face and knowing everything. "He's here, isn't he?" I nodded. "That woman," she sighed, meaning Nora. "She really thought this would break you." "It almost did," I admitted. "For a minute." Mum squeezed my hand. "A clean break is better than a slow bleed, remember?" I remember. I looked at her, this woman who'd rebuilt herself after my father left, who'd never let anyone else write her story. "Will you stay? For what's coming?" "Front row," she promised. The guests began arriving at 6. I watched from the balcony as Nora played hostess, as Rebecca circled Davis like a glamorous shark, as my father chatted with distant relatives who hadn't bothered to keep in touch after he left. "Everything's ready," Wilson said behind me. "Cameras are in position, audio's perfect. The moment you give the signal—" "Good," I said, touching the USB drive in my clutch. "Is Christian here?" "Front table, already recording everything on his phone like you asked." Christian, Davis's socially awkward friend with a massive social media following, had no idea he'd been cast as our backup documenter. He recorded everything, always trying to go viral. Tonight, he'd get his wish. Emma appeared with a glass of champagne. Last chance to back out. I watched Nora guide Rebecca to the family table, my table, while Davis pretended not to notice. Watch my father accept a drink from the woman who'd weaponized his absence. Watch the perfect scene they'd all arranged, thinking they were the directors of this play. "No," I said, straightening my spine. "I'm done backing out." The ballroom lights dimmed right on schedule. Nora took the microphone, ready to begin her carefully scripted evening. She had no idea she was about to become a supporting character in my story instead. I touched my engagement ring, thinking about how it would look catching the light as it fell into Davis's champagne. Thought about Rebecca's smug smile dissolving when the screen lit up. About Nora's carefully constructed world crumbling in front of her society friends. About my father watching the daughter he'd abandoned take control of her own narrative. "Places, everyone," I whispered to myself as Nora began to speak. "The show is about to begin. Love," Nora's voice rang through the ballroom, "is about coming home, about returning to where you truly belong." I stood at the back of the room, watching her command the crowd like a conductor. Davis sat at the main table, Rebecca beside him, their knees touching under the white tablecloth. "And speaking of coming home," Nora continued, her smile sharp as glass, "I'd like to toast someone who's brought so much joy to our family, someone who's always been more than just a friend." The crowd shifted uncomfortably as Nora turned toward Rebecca. Even Christian lowered his phone slightly, sensing the awkwardness. "Rebecca, darling," Nora raised her glass, "you've been patient, you've been understanding, and you've never stopped being part of this family." Davis coughed, tugging at his collar. My father, seated at a nearby table, frowned in confusion. "Some might say it's unusual to have an ex at an engagement party," Nora laughed airily. "But then, some relationships transcend conventional labels, don't they?" Emma, stationed by the AV booth, caught my eye. "Ready?" she mouthed. I nodded slightly. "And now," Nora gestured toward me with theatrical grace, "I believe our bride-to-be has prepared a special tribute of her own." "Yes," I said, moving toward the microphone. "I have." The room turned to face me. Davis smiled encouragingly, probably expecting some sappy declaration of love. Rebecca smirked into her champagne glass. "Before I begin," I said softly, "I'd like to thank everyone who made this evening possible, especially you, Nora, for teaching me that family isn't just about blood. It's about choices." Nora beamed, missing the edge in my voice. "And Rebecca," I continued, "for showing me that some things really do transcend conventional labels, like loyalty, truth, fidelity." Davis's smile faltered. "But most of all," I turned to my father, "I'd like to thank the man who taught me my first lesson about love and trust. Dad, When you left us 17 years ago, I learned that sometimes people aren't who they pretend to be." The room went silent. My father's face drained of colour. "Which brings me to my tribute," I smiled, signalling Wilson. "A little presentation about love, trust and coming home." The screen flickered to life. Davis's confession filled the room. "I've made a terrible mistake. With Rebecca. It started again 3 months ago." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Rebecca knocked over her champagne glass. Nora lunged for the microphone, but Emma had already locked down the audio controls. Hotel security footage played next. Davis and Rebecca entering, leaving, his hand always on the small of her back. Then Nora's text to Rebecca appeared. "She's just a placeholder, fiancé." This is doctored," Nora sputtered, but her voice shook. The final clip, Rebecca in the garden just yesterday. "He's finally coming home." Christian's phone was streaming it all, his followers multiplying by the second. "Stop this immediately," Nora commanded, but no one moved to help her. I picked up my champagne glass. "You're right, Nora. Love is about coming home, but my home isn't with liars and cheats." Davis stood up, knocking his chair backward. "Sergei, please." "Oh, I almost forgot your engagement gift," I said, slipping off my ring. It made a satisfying plink as it fell into his champagne. Rebecca burst into tears, perfectly timed, perfectly fake. "This is all a misunderstanding." "It?" I turned to the crowd. "Because I have 17 more minutes of evidence if anyone's unclear." My father stood up. "Sergei, honey, don't," I cut him off. "You don't get to play concerned father now. You lost that role when you walked away." "That's enough," Nora's voice cracked like a whip. "You're making a scene." "No, Nora," I said calmly. "I'm just showing everyone exactly who you are, who you all are." The room erupted in whispers. Phone cameras flashed. Christian's live stream count hit 10,000. "Davis!" Rebecca wailed. "Tell them it's not true!" But Davis just stood there, champagne dripping from his fingers, my ring glinting at the bottom of his glass. I turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and Rebecca, crimson red really isn't your colour." Emma fell into step beside me as I walked out, her arm linking through mine. Behind us, chaos erupted, Nora's carefully orchestrated evening dissolving into scandal and shock. "Wait," Davis called after me. "Where are you going?" I didn't turn around. Let him watch me walk away, just like my father had all those years ago. Let them all watch. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth. It's walking away and letting that truth do all the work for you. The chaos behind us swelled like a wave as Emma and I reached the lobby. Phones were chiming everywhere. Christian's livestream had gone viral in real time. "Wait!" Davis's voice echoed through the marble hallway. "You can't just leave like this." I kept walking, but he caught up, grabbing my arm. "Let me explain." "Don't touch her!" Wilson appeared suddenly, his voice low and dangerous. He must have followed us out. Davis released me, running his hands through his hair frantically. "This isn't. You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," I said, turning to face him. "I understand that you're weak, that you let your mother run your life, that you never really stopped seeing Rebecca." "That's not fair." Nora's voice cut through the lobby as she rushed toward us, Rebecca trailing behind like a crimson shadow. "You vindictive little—" "Careful, Nora." Emma held up her phone. "Still streaming." Hotel guests were gathering now, drawn by the drama. Phones recorded everything. Christian pushed through the crowd, narrating for his followers. "And now the confrontation is spilling into the lobby." "You planned this," Rebecca accused, mascara running down her cheeks. "You set us up." I laughed, actually laughed. "Set you up? You did this to yourselves. I just provided the spotlight." "You've ruined everything," Nora hissed. "Years of social connections, Davis's reputation." "Your careful manipulations," I finished for her. "Good." My father appeared at the edge of the crowd. "Sergey, please, let's all calm down and talk about this like adults." "Like adults?" I turned to him. "Where was that attitude when you were sneaking out at midnight 17 years ago?" The crowd murmured. More phones appeared. "That's different," he protested weakly. "No," I said, "it's exactly the same, people showing their true colours, running away when things get hard, making choices that hurt others." Davis stepped forward again. "I love you, Sage. We can fix this." "No, Davis, you love being comfortable. You love avoiding conflict. You love letting your mother make your choices." I gestured to Rebecca. "So go ahead. Choose comfort. Choose her. Just don't pretend it's about love." Rebecca's face contorted. "You think you're so perfect? So righteous? At least I fight for what I want." "Fight?" I raised an eyebrow. "Is that what you call sneaking around hotels? Letting his mother orchestrate your affair?" "Enough!" Davis shouted, his composure finally cracking. "This isn't who we are. We're better than this public spectacle." "No," I said quietly, "this is exactly who you are. You're just not used to people seeing it." Nora stepped forward, her society mask slipping completely. "You ungrateful little witch, after everything we've done for you." "Everything you've done to me," I corrected. "And now everyone knows. How does it feel, Nora, to lose control of the narrative?" The crowd had grown larger. Hotel security hovered uncertainly at the edges. Christian's commentary continued. "The live stream count just hit 50,000. "Davis," Rebecca whimpered, clutching his arm, "do something!" But Davis just stood there, looking lost. The perfect son, the charming fiancé, the successful businessman, all his carefully maintained images crumbling under the weight of truth. "I'll tell you what Davis is going to do," I said, my voice carrying across the now silent lobby. "He's going to do exactly what he always does. Nothing. He's going to let his mother clean up this mess, let Rebecca comfort him, and tell himself he had no choice." "That's not true," he whispered, but his eyes said otherwise. My father tried one last time. "Sweetheart, you're hurt, I understand, but public humiliation—" "Save it," I cut him off. "You lost the right to give me advice about hurt feelings when you started your new family." Emma touched my arm gently. "Car's ready." I nodded, then turned to face them all one last time. Davis, Rebecca, Nora, my father. The people who thought they could write my story for me. "Goodbye," I said simply. "I hope the view's nice from the wreckage of your perfect little world." As Emma and I walked out into the night, Wilson following close behind, I heard Nora's shrill voice. "This isn't over." But it was. The truth was out there now, multiplying across social media, impossible to contain. Their carefully constructed facade had shattered in front of hundreds of witnesses and thousands of viewers. And me? I felt lighter with each step, like I was walking out of a dark theatre into bright sunlight. "You okay?" Emma asked as we reached her car. I looked back at the hotel one last time, at the chaos still spilling through its doors, at the life I was leaving behind. "Yes," I said, and smiled. "I'm finally free." The morning sun warmed my face as I sat on the beach, watching waves crash against the shore. Emma dropped onto the sand beside me, handing over a coffee and her phone. "You might want to see this," she said. Rebecca's Instagram post filled the screen, a soft focus photo of her looking wistfully into the distance. The caption read, "Sometimes love means letting go, but true souls always find their way back. Healing, Heim, still believe in love." "The comments are brutal," Emma grinned. "Apparently, being exposed as a homewrecker isn't great for her influencer brand." My phone buzzed. "Wilson, Davis just got passed over for the Miller account. Clients saw the video. Nobody wants to work with him." "Karma doesn't need a timeline," I murmured, remembering my mother's words. Speaking of Mum, her latest letter lay unopened in my lap. I'd been receiving them daily since the party, not because we weren't talking, but because she said some things needed to be written down. I opened today's envelope. Dearest Sai, Nora called again. She's still trying to spin the story, but nobody's buying it. Your father also reached out. Don't worry, I hung up. Some bridges stay burned for a reason. Remember what I told you about Karma? She doesn't always check the calendar, but she never forgets an appointment. Love, Mum. Your mum's got away with words, Emma said, reading over my shoulder. She does. I folded the letter carefully. Did you see Christian's latest update? Emma pulled up the video. Nora, at some charity function, desperately trying to maintain her usual control. But people were turning away, conversations stopping when she approached. The camera caught her sitting alone at a table meant for 10. I heard she's been dropped from 3 charity boards, Emma said. Apparently, helping your son cheat on his fiancé isn't very philanthropic. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number. Davis. Don't answer it, Emma warned. I put it on speaker instead. Sage, Davis's voice cracked. Please, everything's falling apart. Mum's a mess. Rebecca's threatening to write a tell-all. The firm is freezing me out. Sounds like consequences, I said. I need you, he pleaded. You were always the strong one, the one who knew what to do. No, Davis, I was just the one willing to face reality. You're on your own now. I hung up, blocking his number with a finality that felt like freedom. You know what's funny? I said to Emma. I thought revenge would feel hot, angry, but it just feels clean. Speaking of clean, Emma wiggled her eyebrows, Wilson's been asking about you. Wilson's been asking about work, I corrected. The Anderson event needs a new coordinator since I quit. Please, Emma scoffed. He's been asking about work every day since the party. That's not about spreadsheets. Before I could respond, another text came through, from my father. I know I have no right to reach out, but I'm proud of you. You did what I never could, stood up for yourself. If you ever want to talk. I deleted it without responding. Some chapters needed to stay closed. A notification popped up. Rebecca had tagged me in a post. Against my better judgment, I opened it. It was the engagement party video, but not the revenge part. Just a quiet moment before everything exploded when I was standing alone in the ballroom. The caption read, "You think you won, but look at your eyes, so cold, so calculated. Was it worth losing your humanity for revenge?" I started laughing. Emma looked concerned until I showed her. She really doesn't get it, does she? I said. This was never about winning, it was about truth. And karma, Emma added. And karma, I agreed, standing up and brushing sand from my legs. Ready for breakfast? Actually, Emma hesitated, Wilson's meeting us. He said something about a new job offer, senior event coordinator position, different city. I thought about Davis's pleading voice, about Rebecca's attempted manipulation, about Nora's crumbling social empire, about how revenge hadn't felt like fire, but like rain washing everything clean. You know what? I said. Breakfast sounds perfect. Because sometimes the best ending isn't about getting even. It's about getting free. Free to choose your own path, write your own story, start your own chapter. And if that chapter happened to include breakfast with a certain handsome event coordinator, well, karma works in mysterious ways. I took one last look at the ocean, at the endless horizon stretching before me, and smiled. The future was wide open, and this time I was the only one holding the pen.